We want to send out my condolences to our brother, your close friend Frank Coakley, on the loss of him.
Yeah, yeah, that was sad, but it's down to one now.
Mm.
All right. All right, fellas.
Or actually, it's down to two. Uh, Lewis Hutnell is still alive.
Yeah. All right, fellas. We're going to get started. I would like to introduce myself and welcome you all here. My name is Tashin Stallings. I'm currently serving as the chapter treasurer for Delta Beta Omega Alumni Chapter in Charles County, Maryland, right outside of the DC area. I want to thank you all for joining us as we host this is our first in a series of Gilded Go dialogues. And Brother Wesley Jennings was gracious enough to be our first guest in terms of presenting this webinar series. Before we get to Brother Jennings, I would like to introduce the rest of the host chapter members of Delta Beta Omega, starting with our Polaris, Shaggy Flores. We have our secretary, Jeffrey Hebron. And then we also have our vice Polaris, Ron Walls. And then we have other chapter members. We have Jarvis Stanton and Wesley Black. I don't know if any of you brothers wanted to say anything on behalf of the chapter, but if not, then we can move forward.
I would just like to welcome everyone in as the players for the chapter and just say, brothers, this is truly an honor to have, one of the brothers who's been there from the beginning, laying down some history and being able to answer questions. We asked that, if you do have questions, try to make them short so that, because time is of the essence.
And we do have another brother from Delta Beta Omega who just joined us, John Holloman, who just is joining us online as well. We do have some brothers that's representing from different states. So when we do call on you, if you can please just clarify where you're currently representing, whether it's New Jersey, Illinois, Ohio, California. Just as a way we can just make sure brothers know where you're representing from. Does any other brothers from Delta Beta Omega wanted to bring any greetings or comments? Okay. All right. Want to get started. I do have some poll questions that we'll take a break midway through our session today. And we'll have a couple of poll questions that will be put up just to test you guys' knowledge. We definitely want to thank you all for this opportunity to join us and conversate with Brother Wesley Jennings. He was gracious enough to bless us with his time. He has given me pre-warned knowledge that there may be some things he does not recall due to his young age of 78 years old, but he will do his best to provide any fraternal insight or recollection that he can from any experience within the fraternity. All right.
Hashim, can they ask questions through the chat?
They can ask questions through the chat, and I'm going to ask if the members of the chapter can kind of help monitor that. So when we do get to those particular questions, if we need clarity, so we can make sure that the brothers can provide clarity. All right. So Brother Jennings, we want to thank you. We, obviously want to take this time to ask some questions and get some insight. Many of us may know some history about you, but some of us may not. So is there anything you would just like to share in terms of your introduction?
Well, my name is Wesley Jennings. I go by Wes because I ain't in many messes. I was on the first line. The subject matter on the poster that was sent out by Tashin was the subject matter was to be what kind of intake did I recall? And I want you to know that there was no intake in 1964. That's one of the traditions that was built by the brothers that came into the fraternity after the first line. I was on the steps with the founders. And if I didn't, if it wasn't for the fact that I had a full-time job working at a mental institution in Baltimore, or just south of Baltimore, I would have been the 13th founder, as would have been Danny Henson, who also had a job. He was on the first line with me, and Jeff Johnson was on the first line with me. He likewise had a job. Now, I don't recall what Danny's job was, but Jeff reminded me when I talked to him, trying to get some information on the intake process, that he was driving a cab. So he had a full-time job and was on the steps. So he or I would have been number 13, or he and I would have been number 14 or 15, because as I said, Danny Henson, Jeff Johnson, and myself were on the steps when the thought of us forming a fraternity came up. And because I had a full-time job, as did the other fellows that were there, you know I mentioned to the brothers that I left on the steps that in order for the fraternity to grow, we'd have to have a pledge line. And so I'm gonna leave the founding work to you guys, and I will try and extend our lifeblood by being on the first line. So that's how that came to be. It was just a matter of happenstance that I had to go to work. 1964, when we crossed, as many years ago, and I recall it, some of it pretty vividly, but a lot of it escapes me, and I will have some senior moments as we go through this time together where I'll be formulating an answer or a statement in my mind, and by the time I open up my mouth, it's disappeared. I do not suffer with Alzheimer's. I suffer with old timers. So you just have to bear with me and smile at me as we go along, okay? So that's, as far as introduction, that's about it. I think that you guys need to, I thought you were gonna introduce who introduced the people participating and tell me where they were from. And if you're gonna do that, traditionally when I meet a new brother and doing the grip and he identifies himself, he says to me his name, and immediately following his name, he gives me his chapter. Well, when I came along, I only had to remember Alpha chapter. So when you guys tell me your two Greek letter chapters or your 3 Greek letter chapters, tell me where they are located. Give me a city and a state, not a Greek letter, because I only had to know Alpha, as I said. All right?
All right. That's not a problem. I just want to get a chance for you to introduce yourself first, and then we're going to go around the room. I will call on brothers, and those brothers will have an opportunity to introduce themselves to you.
Tashina, I
Okay.
have a quick question because I think Brother West said something really deep and profound, which was that there was 3 other brothers who would have been listed as founders, but because of work purposes, they were not able to. But they basically helped start IOTA because they were in the first line. Has there ever been any efforts nationally to recognize the 3, you and the 2 other brothers, as included as founders in this organization?
No, not really, because we are, speaking for myself, and I think the other brothers on my line, with those that remain, would agree. We were proud of our designation of being on the first line, and we didn't have like an official line name. We were charged by the founders to determine how future pledgees would be known. And Brother Jeff Johnson was reading a book by John Updike called The Centaur. And he read that and pitched it to us. And we said, hey, none of us had read the book, so you take it to the founders and you convince them. And the founders did, in fact, accept his pitch. And so from that line on, the pledgees would be known as IOTA Centaurs. And the first line identifies as founding centaurs. So we're kind of pleased with that designation, and let the founders have that glory, because they were never centaurs. They never pledged. All right. So by virtue of grandfathering, they became centaurs, but they were never centaurs. I'll just leave it like that. And that's probably something that a lot of people that came after the first line didn't know. So no, there has never been an official effort to bring us into the founding thing. We're founding centaurs, and that's as much of the title of founding that we want, or that I want or need.
Okay.
Thank you.
And as I said, there are only 2 founders left now, and one of them isn't recognized by the fraternity as a founder, because he deserted our ass and went to become a noob. So, and that Lewis Hucknall is his name, but I know he was a founder because he was my dean. All right, the first line's dean was founder Lewis Hucknall, but few years after that, he abandoned us. And okay, so long, brother. Thanks for getting us across the burning sands, and we'll see you later. And Lonnie Sproul is the remaining founder that is recognized by the entire fraternity as being such.
Tashin, there's another question I think Brother Hebron has. The question is, the starting of Iota Phi Theta was a family affair. Were there any other prominent people in Iota related to one another besides you and your mother?
Well, my mother became a member of, associated with the fraternity through me, but her official designation as Eternal Sweetheart occurred when I was in Vietnam. I've read it in a letter that she sent me. The fraternity made me your eternal sweetheart. I was in a rice paddy, So when you say it's a family affair, I don't think there were no siblings in the founders group or on the first line, nor were there any blood relationships by anybody in the first line with the founders. The closest that I can recall is after I graduated and joined the Army, is when I got married to my first wife, and she was Lonnie Sproul's cousin, distant cousin. And that's the closest relationship that I can recall other than me and my mother. And again, I had no input into her becoming the eternal sweetheart. I was trying to stay alive and get back to see her once.
Thank you.
All right. Let's give brothers a chance to introduce themselves. We got James Anderson. You want me to give you a minute? I know you said you're enjoying your food.
No. I'm James Anderson. Pledged spring of 1988, Beta Lambda chapter, University of Delaware. My line brother Jay Jennifer is credited with being the first legacy. He was Sonny J. Jennifer's son. I'm sure you know Sonny J. Jennifer.
Yeah, I know.
Yes.
I know Harold and Sonny Jennifer, Harold Jr. and his brother.
Yeah, Sonny J was on the Trifling 28 line. Yep.
All right. Okay.
He died too soon.
Yeah. No, he was good brother. Good brother.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm gonna jump over to Anthony Candelario.
Hey, greetings, brothers. It's great to be on this call, especially with you, Wesley. I see you all
How you
over
doing?
Facebook, man, doing great things. I'm from New Brunswick, New Jersey, Alpha Psi, 1984, the White Shadow, representing Alpha Psi Omega from New Jersey. This is what we do. It's great to see you, man.
Right.
And this bow is for you, boy. Here you go. That's for you.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, we're gonna go out to the West Coast. My man, Jeff Towie.
Sorry, I was making something to eat. It's still morning out here.
Morning.
All right. Hello, everybody. Jeff Towie, Alpha Chi, Spring 93. I'm the biggest line in West Coast. I'm one of Rob's guys, Brother Jennings. If I may, my mom became friends with your mom when we had the conclave in '99, and she was her host the entire time she was here. So shout out. And then one of our biggest thing
that was on the West Coast, right?
That was in Oakland, correct. And one of our favorite memories is all the guys from the West in our area took your mom out to lunch one day, and she told the truth. But she told the stories, the war stories, and it was my pleasure to talk to her and get to know her in person. And this is like a Facebook reunion. These are all these people that I see post all the time, but I've never actually seen face to face. So nice, good to see everybody.
All right.
Likewise.
Hey, Jeff, just for historical references, can you tell us the name of your line, please?
Oh, sorry, Iota Ship Roots.
Thank you.
Say again.
Iota Ship Roots. Yeah. Rising over obstacles to succeed. So.
All right. Thank you, sir. Brother Greg Haywood down in North Carolina.
Greetings, brothers. My name is Brother Gregory Haywood. I'm from Charlotte, North Carolina, across Gilded, Lambda Omega in Greensboro, North Carolina. A&T grad chapter there. Currently resides in Charlotte, North Carolina. I'm the current vice Polaris of Iota Omega now. Bring you greetings. I'm pleasure to be on this call with you guys.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Great.
All right. Jerome Malloy.
Good afternoon, brothers. My name is Jerome Malloy. I am a spring 1994 initiate of the Zeta chapter, which is North Carolina A&T. And I am absolutely. And I am the current secretary for the New Omega Alumni chapter, also in Greensboro.
Thank you, sir. All right. Valentino.
How's it going, everybody? My name is Valentin Mejia. I played spring of 2006 at Johnson C. Smith University in Charlotte, North Carolina.
I hope somebody heard that because he broke up
Can you hear
on
me
my
now?
end. At any rate, I didn't hear what he said after. I can hear you now. Yes.
Okay, yeah. My name is Valentin Mejia. I played spring of 2006 in Charlotte, North Carolina, Johnson C. Smith University, Beta Theta chapter.
All right. Brother Harden.
Hey, how y'all doing, brothers?
All right.
I'm a little cold down here. 64 degrees in Georgia.
You come on Jersey. You come to Jersey right now. We switch any minute, brother.
Well, I'm Brother Anthony Hart. Good to meet you, Wesley. Across D Epsilon Xi down the University of West Georgia, fall 2K12. Previously was the Polaris Beta Upsilon Omega, which is in Gwinnett. Now just a regular brother in Epsilon Omega. Great to be here. And that's Atlanta, by the way.
All right. Brother Darryl Screen.
Greetings, brothers. Greetings, brother Jennings. Very happy.
How are you?
Sorry. Oh, okay. So I'm Darryl.
I just said, how are you?
I'm good. How are you, sir? I'm Darryl Screen. I am a member of the Beta Omega DC alumni chapter. I crossed in spring 19. I am a member of the National Elections Committee for Iota Phi Theta, and I'm also a e-board member of the DC NPHC. It's a pleasure to be with you today.
Okay. Brother Roger Harris, you want to introduce yourself?
Good afternoon, brothers. Good afternoon, Brother Jennings. Roger Harris.
Hi.
Went over summer '98. I'm a part of the Alpha Psi Mega chapter, and yeah, just glad to be here.
All right. And where's your chapter located, Brother Harris?
Oh, we're Central Jersey.
Central Jersey. Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
All right. Troy James, you still with us?
Yep, I'm here. Also, Alpha Xi Omega, Central New Jersey, and very happy to be here. Thank you.
Anthony brought the troops out today.
Oh,
Yeah,
listen.
we
This is living history, baby.
Right.
This is living history right here.
Are you guys recording this?
Yeah, we are.
Okay, great.
All right. Go, brother Hebron. Please introduce yourself.
Okay, my name is Brother Jeffrey Hebron, and right now I belong to the Delta Beta Omega alumni chapter. Serve as secretary. I was made in New Jersey at Richard Stockton College in New Jersey, Alpha chapter. Shout out to my New Jersey brothers. Glad to see y'all. Thank y'all for coming out and supporting us. And it's an honor and it's a blessing to be able to be here with Brother Jennings.
Thank you. And where are you now?
I'm down here in Charles County, Maryland, part of the Charles County Centaurs, Delta Beta Omega, represent.
Okay. All right. Delta Beta Omega. That's Greek to me.
Yeah, we just recently chartered this year in January.
All right. All right. Well, the reason I mentioned to Tash earlier that when I pledged, the only Greek letter that I had to remember was Alpha, Alpha chapter.
Absolutely.
So.
Okay. Let's go to your namesake, Mr. Brother Wesley Black.
Yeah, greetings, brothers. Greetings, Brother Wesley Jennings.
How are you?
Doing well, sir. I just want to say it's an honor and a pleasure to see you face to face. Definitely when I was learning my history, I was excited when I came across your name on the 15th Centaurs. So definitely great to see you in person. Currently, I live in Richmond, Virginia. but I'm a member of Delta Beta Omega, which is in Charles County, Maryland. And I pledged at Randolph-Macon. That's in Ashland, Virginia.
Okay, good.
So good to be on the call with y'all.
Thank you, sir.
What Wesley? What was your line number?
I was a Duke.
Don't tell me 4.
No, I was 2. 2. Yes, sir.
All right, we're gonna go over to Brother John Holloman.
I'm in the middle of Eden, Roshane. How's it going, brothers? Pleasure to meet you, brother Wesley Jennings. It's a pleasure to hear your thoughts and just sit at your footsteps. So thank you for taking time out of your schedule today. My name is John Holloman. I'm a member of the Delta Beta Omega graduate chapter in Charles County. I'm a charter member of the Theta Epsilon chapter at Randolph-Macon College. That's my undergrad chapter, but proud to represent DBO today and glad to have all the brothers on the call today.
Great.
Okay. Brothers, I wanted to take a moment. We've been joined by our International Grand Vice Polaris, Sean Housen. Brother Housen, please introduce yourself.
Good afternoon, good morning, for wherever, depending on what part of the country you're in. Hey, again, Sean Housen, International Grand Vice Polaris, currently I live in Los Angeles, and I look forward to this call.
Okay, great. Thank you, sir. All right, Brother Jarvis.
Hey, how's everybody doing? Wesley, we talked a little earlier. I definitely appreciate meeting you because you do all the birthday shout outs on Facebook.
Yes.
And I really be looking forward to them and getting mine when they come up. So I definitely wanted to say that. But yeah, my name is Jarvis Staten. Cross 2 Psi Fall 13, Psi Chapter, Coppin State, Baltimore, Maryland. And now just a member of Delta Beta Omega in Charles County.
Okay. Well, Jarvis, my Facebook account is screwed up for right now. I haven't sent out any birthday greetings since my wife passed away in the 1st of December. But once I get that thing squared away, I'm gonna start back up. So if you don't get one, when is your birthday?
Remember that in April.
Do not look down at Dr.
Hopefully I'll get it fixed before then.
Okay.
All right. I saw a Stan. Stan just joined us. Stan Chambers, please introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. Stan Chambers, Polaris of the Triangle Iotas, the Alpha Epsilon Omega alumni chapter here in the middle of North Carolina. By the way, as a marketing communications professional, I am not impressed by DBO and your backgrounds. I just want to put that out there. I'm not impressed.
Funny.
I think, and if I have to suspect, I imagine Shaggy has something to do with that. So, yeah, I don't like Shaggy. I don't like his work. all jokes aside. I do love the branding. For the record, I think as an organization for chapters, we need to do more of that. So definitely props to DBO for leading that charge. And I'm just looking forward to the conversation.
Thank you, sir. Who else? Aaron West. Aaron West is our. Aaron, you able to join us? Aaron? Okay. Let's see if we can.
Aaron West actually pledged me because I was a charter line. So he was at row chapter. Yeah, he's row chapter, Towson State.
Okay. Oh, there he is. Aaron.
What's going on, brothers?
What's going on, sir?
Hello,
I
Aaron.
can't even call it.
How are you?
Hey, what's going on, Frat?
I'm
making it happen.
Great.
All right, brother Jennings requested that brothers introduce themselves so that he knows where where you all from, what you're representing, how you're involved in IOTA today.
Oh, my bad. Okay, Brother Jennings. Long time no see. Hope you're doing all right.
Great. How you been?
Been good, brother. Thank you for asking. Been good. Safe and above ground. I'm in Maryland now, visiting with my mom's. It was her birthday yesterday, so good to see all the brothers.
We'll give her a
I'm
hug.
Aaron F. West, 1 row 86, Towson State, Towson Outlaws.
Towson, all right.
Aaron,
All
I told him you pledged me, Aaron.
Hey,
You
that's
pledged me.
Jimmy, brought him in right. Don't tell
Yep.
him all the details. Just leave
I
it
know.
at that.
And Aaron, let the brothers know what other role you serve, because maybe some brothers don't know the position you hold in terms of the NIF.
I'm currently the chairman of the board for the National IOTA Foundation.
Thank you, sir. All right. I'm just looking to see. I'll make sure I didn't miss anybody. So I'll introduce myself. My name is Tashin Stallings. I am a number 4, as my predecessor, Wesley Jennings, is. So I definitely take pride in representing that number. I am a charter line member of Gamma Epsilon and at West Virginia University in Ohio Valley region. And then been a longtime member of the Beta Omega Alumni Chapter in Washington, D.C. And then along with a spirited group of other brothers, chartered the Delta Beta Omega Alumni Chapter in Charles County, Maryland. Again, I bring greetings to you all, and I thank you all for participating with us today. All right, so there was a couple of questions that we got dropped in our box, so I just wanted to make sure we get a chance to bring those to your attention, Brother Jennings. So one of the questions came from Brother Troy James, and he said that since many brothers have served in Vietnam, is that where our DAP originated from? Do you have any insight on that?
Your what?
Any insight on
Our what?
Where the DAP originated, since many brothers were in Vietnam?
He means the handshake, Brother Jennings, our official handshake.
Oh, the grip. I don't know where it originated. I think when I came back, people would just grip me and I followed their lead. But it was not something that I was told this is the official, handshake or hand sign, A lot of things that are instinctive in the fraternity came about in the fraternity long after the first line. I don't think anybody on the first line while they were still in school pledged it. We didn't have a pledge line subsequent to us while we were in school, and most of the folks that were on the first line graduated in 1964 and 65. So the tradition, building those traditions and not resting on them, we came up with that saying, but we didn't have any traditions. We didn't have an intake. We were told to meet in a room in the student union when our pledge thing started. It didn't cost us very much money to pledge like it is today. And, the only thing we had to spend money on was for incidentals. We had to buy the ceramic shield that Charlie Briscoe made in a chemistry lab on campus and painted. and we had to buy the sweaters, those original white sweaters, with the big shield on the front and a couple of stripes on the arm. You know, it wasn't a very expensive proposition for us, and many of us were working full time, so we could afford the sweaters and to pay for the shields. It was, you know, like buying a pack of cigarettes, even though in those days, $50 isn't like $50 today, you know? So many of the traditions that we had, the grip, you know, the ow came about after me, after me. And when I went to the fraternity, when I went to Vietnam, I went away from the fraternity. And when I came back, I was married. When I came back from Vietnam, I was married and I had a child on the way. I got to come home for my grandmother's funeral in the middle of my tour. My mother pulled some strings in the ROTC department at Morgan when her mother died, my grandmother, and they got me an emergency leave. They told a fib, said my grandmother raised me. Well, she didn't. But that was the official line that Audrey came up with to give to the people in the military science department to work it up the chain of command to get me home for 30 days. And when I came home for 30 days, I planted the seed of my child that was going to be born shortly after I got back from Vietnam. So when I came back, I was not active in the fraternity. I had to go about getting a job to take care of this family that was coming up once I got out of the military. And I had 3 jobs, 2 of which lasted a couple of months because I was not satisfied with the first 2. And the 3rd job was with Johns Hopkins medical institutions, and I was there for 9 years and 2 months. And I tried to make it to 10 years so that I'd be vested in the pension plan at Johns Hopkins, but the job that I got subsequent to those, I got appointed to the federal government as a federal mediator, which was an appointed position, not civil service. And that was too good to turn down. And, you know, I worked in Philadelphia, I worked in Baltimore, and I got transferred to Chicago. And got transferred to Chicago in 1979. I met my wife the last couple of days of December 1978. And I went to a conference in San Francisco and found out I was getting transferred to Chicago. And working for the government, you served at the pleasure of the government. And I called her up from San Francisco, said, hey, look, we just met. I like you, you like me, but I'm moving to Chicago. That is non-negotiable. And you got to be thinking about whether or not you're going to go with me. And she did. And 41 years later, I'm telling you the story. So I rambled and I forgot what the question was. Well, where did we start out? On the grip?
Yeah,
DAP. What is it called? The DAP?
DAP. So DAP or the grip, the handshake, the fraternal handshake.
Okay. All right, man. Remember, I'm an old man. It wasn't called the DAP in my day.
All right. We got a couple other questions we would like to ask.
Yeah, sure.
All right. So There's a question in regards to the relationship of Iota Phi Theta with Groove Phi Groove on Morgan's campus. Do you have any stories or any information you can share in terms of how that relationship was formed, or the relationship with the founders during that time?
Morgan, back in that time, was a small college. It was probably 3,000 to 4,000 students on the campus, and most of them commuted to school. When Iota formed, we were known on campus as a GDI, a goddamn independent. Groove Phi Groove was a GDI, a goddamn independent. Baltimore wasn't that big a city, and Morgan's campus wasn't that large, so we knew most of the Groove Phi Groove, just like we knew most of the founders from being in and around Baltimore. And we were friendly. We kind of bonded together a little bit to survive on the campus, because the Pan-Hell, the elite 8 stuck together. And when we came along, it was our mission to change that elite 8 to the divine 9. We wanted to get into the Pan-Hell. And many of the founders worked hard on that. The first line did the stuff that was necessary to make the fraternity grow, like establishing relationships on campus. I've signed the articles of incorporation, along with 2 other people on my line. We were about the business of the fraternity. We were not established firmly enough to just party like the Kappas and the Alphas and the Qs. They were the dominant fraternities on campus, and they looked at us with disdain. So we tried to ally ourselves with groups that were known, groups that were established, and Groove Phi Groove came into being at the same time Iota was meeting to get its place on campus. Also in those days, the president of Morgan State College was Martin Jenkins, and he was a Kappa. He did not even want us on campus. That we had resistance from the administration of the college to keep us out. And that's my mom discussing this with me. You know, I say, Mom, what's with Martin Jenkins? How come the president is so resisting us coming on? And she took up our cause and made recommendations for a faculty advisor who was Dr. Boone. He was our first faculty advisor, and she was working the administration, the college administration, and the college staff. There's faculty and there's staff. She was in the registrar's office. So she was doing her thing for us behind the scenes to keep the adults on campus straight, and defend us. So, you know, that's not right. And she was very outspoken and took a position in support of us and was a great help. And that's why you know, a few years later, she became our eternal sweetheart. It's because she was on our side, but she wasn't just on our side. Hey, Audrey Brooks was responsible for a lot of people, a lot of students. Once they got into the college, she'd meet them because she worked in the registrar's office, and she would champion their causes. My mother was fair to everybody, particularly the students that were there. So to answer your question, we knew Grew Fi Grew. We would, some of us would discuss, or some of the founders actually would discuss the problems that the founders were facing. I wasn't in those discussions because I hadn't joined the fraternity at that point in time. Remember, fraternity was founded in 1963. We pledged in 1964, and I think our pledging was 3 weeks, something like that. And because I had a full-time job, many of my line brothers had to do the pledging activities because it would occur after classes. And after classes, I was working with mental patients at Crownsville State Hospital in just close to Annapolis, Maryland. Tosh probably recalls that name. I don't think it's still there anymore. But that's my pledging. The hardest thing I had to do when I pledged was count the bars around Druid Hill Park Reservoir. You know, the wrought iron fence. It was the reservoir was, you know, a mile in diameter, and we had to walk around and touch each pole in a wrought iron fence surrounding the reservoir. That reservoir is still there. Lou Hutnell was in a car following us around while we walked and touched each bar, and he never counted it, but he went to someplace downtown and they had a record of how many bars are in the fence surrounding that reservoir. So he was following us around, drinking beer, driving slow in a car. That was the hardest thing I had to do because I didn't like to walk. So yeah, we knew Groove, but there was no formal alliance between us. We knew them from, you know, from being neighbors in the city, and there were organized dances. You know, young men in those days would party, and the big parties we all kind of gravitated to. You know, we'd hear about them and show up there. St. James Episcopal Church used to have dances once a month. Jack and Jill, which was a social club that our parents got us involved in. We knew many of the people in various organizations from our churches, or we went to high school with a lot of folks. There were only like 3 predominantly Black high schools in Baltimore during those days. It was Douglas, Dunbar, and we were in the group that integrated City High School. City College was a predominantly white high school, and I and Lonnie Sproul and Dan Henson and a bunch of other people, Jeff Johnson Jeff went to Douglas. We were in the first group to integrate City College in Baltimore. So Baltimore at that time was the sixth or seventh largest city in the country. It's probably 8, 9, or 10 now, but it still wasn't that big. And our travels, our paths would cross. We developed relationships, or one person knew somebody else, and we hang out. Are you driving, man? Keep your eyes on the road.
Yo, I gotta go. I have to go referee. I got a couple basketball games to grab, but I didn't want to miss this call. Listen,
I see the trees
I can't
moving.
miss the call, baby. Look. This is what we do, baby. This is what we do.
All right.
This is what we do.
Okay, but I saw the trees moving out the windows, and it frightened me. Okay, but yeah, we knew the groove. There was no formal relationship between us. It was friendly, and we kind of stuck together because we shared the designation given to us by the Elite Eight as goddamn independence. And yeah, we knew him.
Okay, so I know you mentioned a little bit about your military history going to Vietnam. Do you know if any other founders or any other brothers from your line had any distinguished military careers? Of course, we know about brother, Second Lieutenant Anthony Watson, but anybody else?
Lonnie was in the military. Lonnie Sproul was in the military, but I don't think he went to Vietnam, but he certainly wasn't there when I was there. Ronald Flamer went to Vietnam. Myself, Jeff Johnson was in the Marines, but I think he did his Marine duty before he even went to Morgan. And I don't think he went to Vietnam. Ronald Wheatley was in the military. Calvin Freeland was in the military. And in fact, Calvin, when he got out of the military, I think he was with the CIA for a minute. Those are the only people that I can remember. Tony Watson is the only person that I am aware of that paid the ultimate sacrifice over there in our fraternity. I was in the infantry, and I got shot at, I think, every other day or every day for the first 9 months of my existence in there. I was a platoon leader out in the field for the first 9 months, except for the 30 days in the middle of my tour that I came home because of my grandmother's funeral. And after 9 months, I rotated out of the field, and I had a job as a liaison officer with a village official, and I stayed in the village official's compound with the South Vietnamese Army compound where his office was. But subsequent to 68, 68, I don't know, because I got out when I came home. When I came home from my grandmother's funeral, I went over to the Pentagon because I really enjoyed the Army experience. And I went to the Pentagon to see what track was laid out if I were to stay. And I was told that I was due to get out on June 21st of 67. On June 22nd of 67, I would be promoted to captain, provided I re-enlisted. I volunteered for a second term, and I said, well, no, sir, you can take those railroad tracks and shove them up your ass, because I'm gone after getting shot at every day. You know, no thank you, sir. I'm gone. It'll be women and children before I sign up again.
And you earlier you made reference to founder Hudno joining Kappa Alpha Psi. Are you aware of any other of the founders joining any of the other fraternities, MPAC fraternities?
I'm not aware of any. I've heard that a couple of them were in not Greek letter organizations, but you know, like the what is the opposite of the Order Eastern, the Eastern Star Group?
The Masons.
Masons, yeah, yeah. But that's allowable, but I don't think it's allowed to join a Pan-Hell or you know, you couldn't get into one of the 4 fraternities, Alpha, Kappa, Qs, and Alpha, Kappa, Qs.
And the Sigmas. Sigmas,
right.
Okay.
And then we were number 5. He for his own reasons, he went to graduate school and, you know, or lost confidence in the fraternity. I have no idea. I didn't see him anymore after I pledged. I think he graduated in 64. So I didn't see him anymore till I went to work for the government and was transferred to worked out of Philadelphia. I went to the Veterans Stadium and he was selling souvenirs. You know, he was working a concession stand in the stadium. So. And my brother is a Kappa, and I asked him to research Hucknall, and he could find no record of Hucknall being a Kappa. My brother was a Kappa, and I asked him to contact his headquarters and see what he could find out, but he could find no record of Hucknall. But that's not to say he's not a Kappa. I don't know. I never discussed it with him. I didn't like him that much anyhow. He was a hustler.
So can you speak on I guess the personalities of the brothers around that time? Like, we know, like, you know, fashion was a big thing, you know, being that you guys had jobs, you know, there was some brothers who were into, you know, drugs or, you know, just other things as well.
Well, 2 brothers on my line, Harold Adams, who recently passed, and Willie Barber, played in a trio led by Webster Lewis, one of our founders. And if you're familiar with Baltimore, Pennsylvania Avenue was a hot spot in the Black community, and there was a club on Pennsylvania Avenue called the Club Casino, and that's where Webster, Harold, and Willie Barber, and they had a fourth person in the quartet, played every Wednesday night. And when I would leave work at 11:30 on Wednesdays, I broke a lot of speed limits to get to the Club Casino to meet my girl and hang out, and after the club closed, go to Nate's and Leon's for corned beef sandwiches and strawberry shortcake. And the band and the other people, patrons of the club would gather there after the clubs closed. And Wednesday night was hot fun in the summertime. And that was a regular routine. Yeah, we had people that dressed. We had people that had cars. We were not typical college students because we had jobs and we could afford that stuff a little bit.
Can you
more.
hear?
Say again?
All right, hold on. All right, we're good.
Yeah, we had cars. Lonnie Sproul had a car. You know, most of the founders had automobiles and dressed well, except on Thursdays when they were all required to have the ROTC uniforms on. In those days, ROTC was mandatory the first 2 years of the males. Your freshmen and sophomores, ROTC was mandatory. It was something you had to have, and every Thursday you would drill. If you went on the third and fourth years, working toward your commission, then and you would go to summer camp the summer after your third year, military summer camp, and when you graduated with your uniforms on, not a cap and a gown, and you were commissioned second lieutenant at graduation. I opted out after 2 years because, again, I was working my way through school. I didn't have time to do that. But then when I graduated, and I had to do practice teaching in the last half of my senior year, because I wanted to be a physical education teacher and a coach. And you had to do practice teaching in a city schools system for a grade in order to graduate. And it was 2 weeks into that stint in the school system that I decided I did not want to do this for the rest of my life. And because I did not take a job when I graduated, I was going to lose my student deferment and eligible for the draft. So I decided I would go to OCS for 16 weeks and, by an act of Congress, become an officer and a gentleman, figuring that rather than get drafted and be at the very bottom of the totem pole, I go to OCS and at least I'd be at the bottom of the officers class. So when they would kick my ass from above, I had somebody to get to below me. So that's how I got my commission and went to Vietnam.
For those who don't know, Morgan State is located in the Northwood area of Baltimore. Can you speak about the segregation around that time in the city and around the campus?
Northwood, that may have been known as the neighborhood, but what I knew about the neighborhood was the shopping center. And in that shopping center, they had a movie theater, they had a bank, they had a liquor store, they had a five and dime that we could not sit at the counters and eat in. We were not allowed in the movie theater. And being that close to the school, many of the activists took exception to that, and we picketed and tried to get the movie theater to open and to allow us into the five and dime to sit at the lunch counter and eat. And that persisted for a number of years. And in the 60s, that was the beginning of Black folks sprouting their wings and pressing for equal treatment in places that were segregated. And Baltimore is a southern city. Maryland is the northernmost city along the Mason-Dixon line. So a lot of people don't understand that Maryland is and was and is a southern town. And all of the Jim Crow laws that were in existence before the civil rights movement and before the schools were integrated, we suffered through, and suffered is really the wrong term, because many of the white places that were closed to us, we didn't want to go to anyhow. So, and we came along during the time when the civil rights movement nationwide was really getting off the ground. And a bunch of folks got locked up at the North, trying to integrate the Northwood Theater. I was aware of it, but I was not active in it. And the reason for that is because I didn't have time. I was in school full time. I had a full-time job that took up, that took up my whole day, and I had to chase the girls and do what came out of that kind of activity. And I had to sleep. I had to eat and sleep. So to do it again the next day, there are only 24 hours in a day, and 16 of those hours were committed to other things, if you will. And so since I was here in Chicago, I think in the last couple of years, Morgan owns that shopping center now, and it has evolved into something magnificent. And I hope that when if you have a chance or you visit the campus, that you will go over to that Northwood Center and see how it has been remodeled and redesigned and actually is a part of Morgan's campus at this point in time. Morgan University's campus. It was a college when I went to it. It became a university after I left.
Okay, I wanted to take a short pause. I do have some poll questions I wanted to get to the brothers, and then we're going to get to a couple more questions. So just really quick, I'm going to launch our polls here. And take a few minutes. If you're driving, I'm not expecting you to participate, but for all the brothers who are sitting, I want you to take a look at these questions. Let's see if you can provide some responses here. All right.
I don't think it's letting me click on the answers. Am I doing it?
I don't think I think if we're a host, we can't do it.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay. So let me.
Gotcha. I was like, wait, I know these answers.
All right. So
where y'all viewing the questions?
There should be a pop-up that came up for these polling questions.
Yeah, it should be 4 of them.
4 questions, yeah. No, I don't know. Yeah.
Is it showing for you now, Jarvis?
Yeah, I got it.
All right.
I seen it. I saw it. Well,
Is anybody still not seeing the polling questions? Okay. All right. Well, just to for those who can't see, so the first polling question is how many centaurs crossed on the first line in 64? Everybody who's answered that got it correct. Is the 15. The next question is who is the mother of Brother Wesley Jennings? That is Miss Audrey Brooks. Miss Audrey Brooks is the mother of Brother Jennings. The next one is how many crossed the Alpha chapter line in 67, known as the Pied Pipers? So the answer to that is actually 20. There was 20 Pied Pipers. And for those who may know Tex Dean, recently deceased brother George Knock was on that line. A lot of prominent brothers of Iota is recognized off that line. And then the fourth question, what is the current region that Brother Wesley Jennings is currently residing in? So he's mentioned Chicago a few times. And if you know Chicago is part of the Midwest, that is the correct answer. He's currently residing in the Midwest region. All right. So just to kind of help out with some information, just sharing the results with y'all because I can see what the responses were. Okay.
Can you put that back up again? I clicked on it and it disappeared.
Okay, hold on.
So we got a couple brothers that need to get in the cut, is what you're saying, Tashi.
Need to go back and read that history again.
What are the answers?
So the answers for the first one.
No, I know the answers. I'm looking for the percentages of folks who submitted this. It was the second screen you put up?
Oh, let me see if I can get back to that. It may not let me get back to it right now because it was relaunched again.
Okay. Nice.
Okay.
That's all right. Don't worry about it.
All right.
I got them all right.
Okay. So another question that was asked, as a fraternity, based on what you've been witnessing and what you've been able to participate in as a brother, what has been going well, and where is the opportunity for us to grow?
Let me tell you something. When I moved to Chicago, I think it was somewhere in the early 1980s. I moved here in 1979. It was 81 or 82. I was driving down Lakeshore Drive, and I had my dog in the back of my car, and I was going south on Lakeshore Drive, pretty close to the end of it, and there's a Museum of Science and Industry. I think it's at 51st Street or something like it. It's just south of University of Chicago, and anyhow, I drove past it, and out of the corner of my eye, I noticed a lot of orange, or it looked orange. It was gold. It's the color of the shirt that Tasheen has on in front of us right now. That caught my eye, and at that point, I had to go to the end of Lakeshore Drive to turn around to go north again, to explore what all this gold was, or that I saw out of the corner of my eye, and find a parking space, and then go behind the museum. And it was hundreds, if not thousands, of Iota brothers. Well, I'd been away from the fraternity for some period of time up until that point. I had no idea that Iota Phi Theta fraternity had grown to be as big as it was, as represented by those hundreds, if not 1,000 or more brothers that I discovered were having a picnic behind the Museum of Science and Industry in opposite Lake Michigan, separated only by Lakeshore Drive. And I'm trying to give you an idea for those of you that aren't from in the Midwest region, or haven't been to Chicago, or don't know about the places I'm talking about. But I took my dog with me, and I just walked over and it wasn't until I got very close that I found out that they were brothers, because they had on their paraphernalia, they had on their gold shirts or their brown shirts, and it had the shield, Iota Phi Theta, and I was simply amazed that the fraternity had grown that size. And that was the beginning of my reactivation and participation with this fraternity, because while I was a brother, I was not an active brother, because I was taking care of business. I was working. I was doing other things, and I can't tell you why I went away from the fraternity, but I did, and it was that incident that caused me to get back involved with the fraternity. Now, what are we doing good? We're growing, not quite as fast as we should have or could have. And while I was away from the fraternity and it grew to the size that it had become in 1980, 81, 82, somewhere in that area, I think that attracting, getting folks interested in it was one of the things that must have gone very well. Now, since I've gotten closer to the fraternity, we've had some growing pains. It's come to my attention that over the years, physical harassment of pledgees has increased. You know, when I pledged, and press the reset button. I called around to Brother Jeff Johnson, Brother Ronald Flamer, Brother Dan Henson, and found the sprawl to ask the question about, did we have an intake process back then? And we did not. But I talked to Brother Johnson, and you know, he's being a former Marine and an arrogant SOB. He said, man, I didn't get paddled to join this fraternity. One of the reasons I joined the fraternity is because they weren't gonna do the physical harassment of folks. And he and I agreed, said, no, we told the founders that, you know, we'd like to join your organization, but if hitting me on my ass is something that we have to undergo in order to be an iota, hey, I don't need to join. So our line took a stand that there would be no physical hazing and harassment. This outlaw thing. And I'm pointing out some of the negatives rather than the positives, which was the thrust of your question, Tat, to me. The fraternity lost its way in terms of physical harassment, physical hazing, and this outlaw business took on a life of its own. Back in the days, the first couple of years of our existence, when we were called outlaws, it was a demeaning term. It was, you know, it was akin to being a goddamn independent, if you will. It was used pejoratively, like, to describe the grooves, to describe the Theta men, to describe anybody that wasn't a part of that elite eight mentality or diaspora. And one of the reasons that up on steps that was part of the discussion is we wanted to be something different and not fall into the hazing mentality of the four then status quo fraternities. We were going to be a little bit different. Well, it seems to me we lost our way. We've done some good things over the years. The Iota Foundation has led the way in many of our, what's the term I want to use? I'm having a senior moment now. Some of our initiatives, like the monument that was developed and placed on the campus of Morgan to commemorate where we began. That was an expensive proposition to develop, and it took a lot of political behind the scenes activity by the Iota Foundation and the board, what's the Washington, the Baltimore headquarters board of directors.
Board of directors.
Is that what it is?
Them in the NIF.
Yeah, in Iota.
Yes, National Iota Foundation and the board of directors.
Exactly, but what is the Sean is the International Grand Polaris, and he has a Vice Grand Polaris, and then all of the
so the Grand Council.
That's it. That's it. I told you I'd have senior moments during this conversation. It took a lot of activities of the of those groups and some interaction between Frank Coakley and Lonnie Sproul and others, but it was more guided by the foundation because they came up with the money to put that statue, I guess it's called, on the campus of Morgan. So other than that, other than talking about some of the negatives as I've seen it, I can't really address the positives because, I don't know everything that was done. So let me just stop there because I'm getting myself in trouble, I think.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, we're coming up on our time at 3 o'clock. And so I do want to be respectful of your time as well. If it's possible, and if you're interested, Brother Jennings, we can schedule another session to get a couple more questions and some reflections from you, if you're willing to share that.
Sure.
Okay, all right. Brothers, at this time, we're going to end our session. I want to thank you all for participating, but we're going to just leave this open for a few more minutes. So if any brothers just want to kind of hang out and talk and reflect on any information that was shared, or if you want to add to anything that you guys may be aware of, we want to just leave that this open for you guys. Okay.
Tashin, just a quick announcement, brothers. This is part of a series that we're going to be doing. For those that have heard around the grapevine, we have a series of programs coming in April on Sundays at 3 o'clock starting. We have a series that we will be launching. So just keep an eye out for that. And then in May, we have a big virtual event that we will be selling tickets to. Can't talk too much about it right now, but just keep an eye on the movement, the family. Tickets are $25. It's a chapter fundraiser, but it's definitely something cool that hasn't been done yet that we're going to try doing virtually. So for those of you that join us, just keep an eye on DBO, and we will definitely have the programs. The one in April is free, absolutely free. So like I said, we have that coming, but like Tashin said, we're going to keep this forum open because I know we have a lot of brothers from across the country. If y'all just want to talk about something, you have any open discussion, now's the time.